Two bros chilling in the hot tub.
You the twos and we the ones? Well, you are the biggest two of them all, my dog. That's what you are. You are a giant number two.
Did you know Boston is the longest active playoff streak in the NBA?
That makes sense.
12 straight seasons of the Boston Celtics being a playoff.
It's Boston. What do you expect?
I think this Boston Celtics team is insanely overrated. They're a team who I don't know their identity because they were so much better with Drew Holiday and with Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, and now none of them are there. And I don't know what this team is going to look like next year. This was supposed to be their gap year. They were supposed to have Tatum was supposed to not play at all, and then they were supposed to have a maybe top 10, top 15, top 20, anywhere between 10 and 20, and now it's looking like they're going to get a bottom 4 pick in the first round. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Two Bros Podcast. As always, I am Bryce, and I am joined by...
I'm Matt, and honestly, I'm a very happy Cavaliers fan right now.
Yeah, they're having a good series so far. And, you know, the Lakers are having a good series so far. But it's still early. Game 2 is actually playing right now. We're getting LeBron versus KD for the first time since the NBA Finals back in 20.
And your Lakers are up by 11.
Good. This is no Luka, no Austin Reeves, by the way. So I just want to let that sink in. But we're going to talk about the NBA because Victor Wembanyama yesterday was anonymously named the first ever anonymous defensive player of the year in league history. What do we feel about him being named the first ever unanimous MVP? Not anonymously, unanimous MVP.
He should. I mean, he has led the league in blocks every season for the last 3 seasons and hasn't played a full season yet. He missed over half of the year last year, led the league in blocks, and then his rookie year led the league in blocks. I think there is no question he's the best defensive player in the league. He has been the best defensive player in the league since he was a rookie.
Yeah.
So it was only a formality of him winning it this year.
2K, he wins every defensive player of the year, and now we see why. Because with how good he is, it doesn't matter. He could forever win Rookie of the Year, and nobody would be surprised. Or Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, it just
Defensive
makes
Player of the
sense.
Year. Alrighty. SGA has been named the 2026 Clutch Player of the Year. And what's it called? I don't think anybody was surprised. I think you called SGA being your...
Yeah, I mean, if you like him, he has 175 total points in the clutch, 6.5
That is
per
nuts.
game. He is over double the next closest person, who is Anthony Edwards. There was no
Clutch time is what? Two minutes? The last 2 minutes?
I believe so. It's the last 2 minutes of the game. So for him to have 175 total points in the clutch, it just shows how
He
good
only
he
played
is.
what? 65 games?
Just reached the 65 game threshold. I mean, this guy, no matter what you think of him, this guy can get it done in the clutch. So, and this is the crazy thing. There for a lot of games, he didn't even play in the fourth quarter once they got up so much. So this is just for him to have that crazy run. I mean, there's no question. His plus minus in the clutch is plus 93.
That's
he has
insane.
52 field goals made in the clutch. This guy, they're 20-7 as well with him in the clutch. So, I mean, yeah, he was the only option.
That's nuts. That is insane.
Didn't even play 70 games.
Yeah, and people think around 3 points a game in the clutch in the last 2 minutes is not that impressive, but no, that's impressive. Think about it. He's still getting assists. He's still getting rebounds. He's still getting steals. That doesn't account for just his defensive stats also. Doesn't account for his passes. That's just points he puts in the bucket in the last 2 minutes of the game. 65 games, 175 points. That is nuts. That's one of the most ridiculous clutch stats we have ever seen.
And I think for me, it's the plus 93 that really sticks out. I mean, we're looking at a player like plus 25. We're like, wow, what a really good game.
Plus 93.
Plus 93 in the clutch is insane.
That is wild. Absolute insanity. But
blows my mind.
My God. But now we're going to talk about the playoffs because the Orlando Magic defeated the Pistons in Game 1, 112 to 101. And Dad and I talked about this earlier because we talked about it kind of relating to the Penguins and the Flyers, which we're going to talk about later. The Orlando Magic have been playing more meaningful basketball over the last week and a half than the Detroit Pistons have. The Pistons kind of took it easy the last few games because they clinched the number 1 seed, and the Magic literally for the last week and a half have been fighting for their playoff lives. So they've been playing more meaningful basketball, meaning they came into the playoffs more prepared than the Pistons.
Yeah, I think this game 1 was just a young team not ready for it. I think that Detroit still takes this series probably in 6. But I think this is a really good win for the Magic, a bit of a momentum builder for them. I don't think this is enough to win the series, but it's a cool moment.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's kind of nice to see that Paolo is kind of telling all the doubters in him that have been anti-Paolo for the last few years to shut the hell up. That he is still that guy. He is still the guy. He's still their franchise guy that when they need him to win a game, he can step up and he will put the team on his back. Yes, they have Desmond Bane. Yes, they have Jalen Suggs. But this team is Paolo Banchero's. Yes, they have Franz Wagner. This is still Paolo's team. It is. And next, we have a series that I think a lot of us thought after Game 1 was going to be over. And then the Hawks came back and just punched the Knicks right in the mouth.
I picked the Hawks to win.
You did. You did. And I think that this was a momentum swinging game in the series. People say Game 5 is the most important game of the series. Nah. This series, Game 2, it felt like the momentum shift after the Knicks absolutely blew out the Hawks in Game 1. The Knicks came back, or the Hawks came back down, 10 points going in the fourth? It was 12. Yeah, it was 12 points. And you cannot blame Cat for this, because Cat was balling out of his mind. It's Mike Brown not making adjustments. It's Jalen Brunson for not being more effective. Jalen Brunson for being a defensive liability, and they knew that, and they attacked. CJ McCollum attacked Jalen Brunson as much as he could. And CJ McCollum had his way with the entire Knicks team in the fourth.
So we need to look at Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby being offensive liabilities.
Mm-hmm.
This team was so dysfunctional, and that's why I'm sorry. I don't foresee and this comes down to the same thing with the Pistons. I don't look at the Knicks or the Pistons as actual contenders in the East just because you can't be dropping games like this.
Yeah.
This shows that the Hawks defense is fully ready to take on the elite teams in the East. People forget this. The Hawks took 2 games straight off Cleveland in the beginning of the season because their defense was so strong. And that was before they had traded Trae Young away. So I think this Hawks team is ready to fight. As a Cavs fan, I actually don't, looking at it, I don't want the Hawks to win because what would happen is that means Cleveland ends up facing Boston, and I don't want that. But this Hawks team could make some serious damage, do some serious damage.
Yeah. And yeah, no, you called it perfectly. You said the Hawks were perfectly suited to be the team that would take down the Knicks. And we're seeing that you were right, that the Knicks, with all the star power they have, don't have a guy that can get it done in the big moments. And yes, Jalen Brunson had his run last year. But I don't know if with the way that this team is built without Tom Thibodeau, if they could have kept it up. And we're seeing it right now, how this team is totally different. They're not buying into the Mike Brown culture. They bought into the Tom Thibodeau culture.
Most teams don't buy into the Mike Brown culture.
That's why Mike Brown, with him being a coach of the year, that's why he was fired from Sacramento. That's why he was fired in Cleveland. That's why he was fired as the Lakers head coach. Because Mike Brown is not a guy who can win you a championship as your head coach. He's not a championship winning head coach.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a very interesting rest of the series.
Oh, okay. Two of the games we're going to talk about later in the series have different outcomes because 2 of the games that we talked about earlier.
I updated them already.
Okay, you did? Oh, yeah.
Yep,
I see them now. So next we're going to talk about a series that is probably already over because Cleveland is up 2-0 on Toronto, and this series hasn't even particularly looked close. And I watched part the early part of the game one between the Cavs and the Raptors before I had to go to work, they could not stop Jared Allen in game one. They could not. Jared Allen in the first quarter of game one went absolutely nuclear.
Yeah, it was a good showing from my Cavs. One thing I really appreciated with this is that we're not saying playoff James Harden.
No, he had
Normally,
30
we
last.
would already see him struggle a lot. We would watch the turnovers pile up. One thing that really stood out to me was he had 28, 10, and 5 steals. On top of that, you can see how just dominant Cleveland is on defense. And this is the defense we saw from them last year. So I'm really enjoying. I watched the entire game yesterday, just like I watched the entirety of their first game. This team is playing with a fire that they understand they don't have many chances left. So I really think that this is a kind of team that if they sweep Toronto and they face Detroit, I think they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And last night, their big three combined for what, 85? 85 points. And when your big three combines for 85 points, there's no way in hell that you are going to lose that game.
And on top of that, they're daring Toronto to shoot this ball.
Yeah. And when
there's nobody
have Emmanuel Quickly, who is, I don't think he's played yet this series.
He's
but
nice
when you have Brandon Ingram and when you have Scotty Barnes, two guys who aren't, Scotty Barnes is a terrible shooter, and Brandon Ingram is not the greatest shooter in the world. When you're forcing both of them to shoot, you're in trouble. You are.
Because the number one shooter is Jamal Shed. Jamal
Shed's not a notorious three-point shooter. They don't really have a knockdown shooter because Grady Dick, I don't know what happened to him. He's not playing good basketball anymore. Jakob Poeltl is not a shooter. Brandon Ingram is an average at best. RJ Barrett is not a great shooter. Emmanuel Quickly is their best shooter. He's not playing right now. And Scotty Barnes is a terrible shooter. And when you're forcing guys that aren't shooters to shoot.
And on top of that, Cleveland is running a two-big lineup, which means you don't have a shooting and you have two bigs completely clogging the paint. Two very good rim protectors at that. Your entire identity of being able to drive the basketball is taken away from you and you can't shoot against a ridiculously strong team on offense. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
They're lucky they didn't lose these games by 20 plus.
Oh, yeah. And I think you and I were very critical of the James Harden trade for the Cavs when it happened. Mm-hmm. But I think that James Harden is the spark plug, is the answer that the Cavs desperately needed. Because Donovan Mitchell has proved time and time again that he cannot be your number one option on a deep playoff run. And I think they have a guy now in James Harden who is James Harden the same player he was in Houston? No. But I think he's more skilled of a player now, and that's what makes him more dangerous. He's a guy that has had so much playoff experience. Amongst active players, he's played in, I think, the third most playoff games of any active player right now.
That makes sense. With guys like LeBron and KD existing.
Yeah, and Steph and Draymond and Klay Thompson. And Al Horford, too. But that's besides the point. This guy has experience. He's been to the finals. He's been to 4 conference finals. This is a guy who can lead your offense, and he's showing that right now, and he's playing really well.
He's also taking a lot of stress off Donovan Mitchell. You're seeing how Donovan Mitchell can just play his game with 2 games straight of average with 30 plus. I mean, he is having fun against this defense.
Yeah, and James Harden is the offensive engine that Cleveland has been missing since LeBron left. And I think that this Cavs team is poised to make a deep playoff run, and I think if they were in the finals this year, I would not necessarily be surprised. I would not.
I'm cool with that.
Alrighty, next we have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves are tied 1-1. Timberwolves won game 1. The Nuggets bounced back. Oh yeah, the Nuggets won game 1 and the Timberwolves bounced back and won game 2. And I think this was one of the series I predicted to go to 7 in the first round. And I think, by the way the series is going, that this is going to be a 7-game series. Because these are two teams that will not go away. And there are two teams that you're going to have to put your foot on their neck and keep pressing down because you cannot keep them down. They will come back. And this is going to be a scrappy series.
There was a stat in the that they had talked about yesterday in the game where let me see. Denver was 8-0 in series that they went up 2-0, and Minnesota was 0-8 in series that they went down 0-2. So this was a very important game for Minnesota to win, and I think that we kind of saw how they didn't even need Anthony Edwards to have an amazing shooting night. They were just such a good defensive team.
Yeah, and I think that people were so surprised that the Timberwolves didn't make a John Morant trade. I think the Ayo Dosunmu trade was one of the more impactful trades because this is a guy who can take the offensive load off of Anthony Edwards sometimes. Then you still have Julius Randle and you have Rudy Gobert being his all elite defensive self that you cannot score in the paint on Rudy Gobert at all. And Julius Randle is proving that he's great on both sides of the ball. This is just a team that you don't want to play if they're as hot as they are.
No, not at all.
Next, we have San Antonio and Portland being tied 1-1. And I think the only reason why this series was tied 1-1 is because Wemby left with a concussion. And he has, according to the NBA's rules that I just saw, it's like a 48-hour thing. But with them going to Portland, I think there's a 3-day gap now, so I think the next game they play is Friday. So I don't think it is. Yeah, Wemby cannot return to full participation for 48 hours, but he can resume gradual activity in 24 hours as long as his symptoms don't worsen. Then he must hit several benchmarks while being symptom-free before he is cleared to play. He'll then require clearance from team doctor in consultation with a league protocol director.
I think with how good this Spurs team is, they only lost by 3 without Wemby. And that was from a bad shooting night, to be honest. If you look at their stats, De'Aaron Fox, 6 for 16, Devin Vassell, 6 for 16, Keldon Johnson, 3 for 7, Stephon Castle, 7 for 20. I think this team is good enough to let Wemby sit the next game and think they can probably still win it if they can get back to their good shooting ways. So I actually do not mind them sitting him, letting him rest up, missing this next game, probably still winning it, and then closing it out.
Yeah, well,
I think that the Blazers had a really good game. I mean, we saw probably the best game of Scoot Henderson's career, 31. Pretty much just that was it, though. But, one of the best games of his career. Denny Avdija didn't do much, but it took a Herculean effort just to win by 3.
That's true. And yeah, you mentioned, as you said, this was a bad shooting night for San Antonio. You're not going to get a bad shooting night from San Antonio, really, ever. And they barely lost with a horrible shooting, with a horrendous shooting night.
So I think if this team is on, they were leading for most of the game. If this team is on, they don't even need Wemby to win this first round.
Alrighty, yeah. And this is the other series you changed because I didn't check it because I was still writing notes for everything up until 30 minutes before the podcast, so I didn't get a chance to check. But Boston and Philadelphia are now tied at 1-1 after the Philadelphia 76ers won 111-97 in Game 2.
Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe combined for 59.
And VJ left, didn't he? He left the game.
He played 30 to 35 minutes.
So he came back then. But
even Paul George stepped up. Kelly Oubre had a nice game. Andre Drummond had a decent game. I think this means that Philly can win the series? Not even close. But it shows that Boston has a kryptonite, and it is if your guards are shooting the lights out, they can't handle it.
And especially if Boston shooting as horrible as they were, I think you could make an argument if Joel Embiid hasn't missed a game, this is 2-0 Boston, or 2-0 Philadelphia.
I disagree. I think Boston still wins this series, and I think they handle this pretty well. But I think that this is showing Boston isn't on the level of Thunder as just a guarantee. I think if Boston finds the right matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals, we may not see them going all the way.
Yeah. And I've said for the longest time, even though, did you know Boston is the longest active playoff streak in the NBA?
That makes sense.
12 straight seasons of the Boston Celtics being a playoff.
It's Boston. What do you expect?
I think this Boston Celtics team is insanely overrated. They're a team who I don't know their identity because they were so much better with Drew Holiday and with Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, and now none of them are there, and I don't know what this team is going to look like next year. This was supposed to be their gap year. They were supposed to have Tatum was supposed to not play at all, and then they were supposed to have a maybe top 10, top 15, top 20, anywhere between 10 and 20, and now it's looking like they're going to get a bottom 4 pick in the first round in a And I don't know what the Celtics are going to look like. Them being the 2 seed this year might have actually hurt them long term.
Yeah, it's, we kind of find ourselves in an interesting spot that this Celtics team is so good right now. But you have to understand that this is a well coached team. Joe Mazzulla is probably the coach of the year. This team missed Jason Tatum for most of the year, and they're still the 2nd seed. So you can never count Boston out. Of course, do I think that they are going to win the finals? Not a chance. OKC exists.
San Antonio.
This is nobody's year except for OKC. But hey, I'd be excited if I were Boston fans. This being our gap year is a crazy thing to see.
Speaking of OKC, the Thunder blew out the Suns, and I think this series may be a series that's already over.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's over.
Yeah. Suns fans, you had your moment to be in the playoffs. It's over now. Just think about next year, what the Suns are going to look like next year. That's all I'm going to say. And now, that was the Thunder series we're going to talk about. That's probably the last time we're going to even talk about it because this series may be over by the next episode. But next, we have the Lakers leading the Rockets 1-0 in the series, and it's actually 54-51 at halftime right now. The Rockets came back, and they're making this a game. It's the first playoff game between LeBron and KD since they faced off in the 2018 NBA Finals.
You know what's interesting about this is I watched all the talking heads talk about this week. They said if Kevin Durant's back, this is a blowout. That Houston handles business. I'm sorry. Outside of Kevin Durant, there's nobody in Houston who has the ability to score the ball. Jabari Smith's having a nice game, but let's look at the Lakers side. Marcus Smart, 17. LeBron James, 14. Luke Kennard, 12. Rui Hachimura, 6. This is a better coached team. And I'm sorry, I don't see where, I really think that if LeBron starts hitting his shots, this game is over pretty quick.
Here's my thing. Luke Kennard, you didn't mention his game 1. He had 20. He was the leading scorer in all of game 1. He had 27 on 9 for 13 shooting and 5 for 5 from 3. This man, we thought this is not going to be a huge move for the Lakers, and I think this is turning out to be one of the most impactful trades of the deadline because Luke Kennard has made this team the best shooting team in the entire league since February. And this is a team that, as we saw in game 1, if they get hot, there's not a team that can stop them right now. And then when Luka comes back and when Austin Reeves comes back and with how hot Luke Kennard's playing, Marcus Smart, LeBron, DeAndre Ayton's buying into his role, Rui's playing well, Vando does stuff when he's on the court, Jackson Hayes fills his role well, JJ Redick is a great coach. This is the team that I said this in March when we did our NBA playoff preview a few weeks ago, that this is a team that you don't want to play when Luka was on his hot streak. That's when we talked about it. This is a team that you don't.
I believe Austin Reeves is right around the corner from being back.
Well,
he could be back by next round.
They said Luka's probably not going to return this round, but
Reeves could be back next round.
Reeves could, yeah. But that was the NBA. And now we're going to move on to the NFL because there is some news outside of the draft, which we're doing a draft episode. We're doing our own mock draft in the next episode. So there's going to be 3 episodes this week. He's going to be tired, but it's going to be worth it. Because
I'm barely going to be around. I'm barely going to be alive for the 3rd episode.
Alrighty. 49ers and Trent Williams have agreed on a 2-year, $50 million contract extension. And this comes after reports that he was unhappy and was rumored to have requested a trade.
Yeah, I think they recognize he is the best offensive lineman they have by far.
He's the best O-lineman in the league still.
He is insanely old, but yet he is still the best by far. They couldn't afford to possibly lose him. This was a smart choice.
Yeah. And, he's 37, and he's still the best offensive lineman in the league. He's shown no signs of slowing down. He is what, at 37, people expected Tyron Smith to be still, at 37. Trent Williams has really pretty much been healthy his entire career. And this is what happens when he's turned into one of the 5 to 10 greatest offensive linemen in NFL history. He's so good. And he is so valuable to the 49ers. He is a guy who's going to keep Brock Purdy upright. He's a guy that's going to block well for Christian McCaffrey and whoever else they have at receiver and tight end. But I love this move. It's great. There was no replacement that they were going to get for Trent Williams anytime soon. But A.J. Brown is expected to be traded to the New England Patriots post June 1st, meaning the A.J. Brown saga, the A.J. Brown trade saga is pretty much over.
Thank God. This was about as tiring as the Giannis trade saga.
But here's my thing. What is this trade package going to look like? Is their first this year going to be involved? Is New England's first this year going to be involved?
You mean Phillies?
No, New England.
I don't know. I mean, I think that, he's not going to get as much as we think. He has been. I'm sorry, he doesn't even look like he's the number one guy on his own team. I think it's clear Devonta Smith is the better receiver there, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting like some seconds and thirds for him. I don't look at him as a first round trade piece anymore.
That's fair. Please don't say that, though. I gave up 2 firsts in my one dynasty league for A.J. Brown at the trade deadline last year.
I mean, look, Drake May will turn him into a genuine, 1,300-yard receiver. I just don't think that right now his value shows him as multiple firsts.
Okay, now Brandon Aubrey becomes the highest paid kicker in NFL history when he signed a 4-year, $20 million deal to stay with Dallas. The most impactful Dallas Cowboy, the most important Dallas Cowboy stays in Dallas for the next.
Yeah, they needed to sign him. Their team doesn't thrive without him, and I think they knew they needed him badly. Jerry finally ponied up the money and gave it to somebody who deserves it.
I'm going to say this right now. Brandon Aubrey is one of the most impactful kickers in NFL history. He really is. And I don't think that's that far of a stretch to say that we have seen very few kickers impact the kicking game himself and the scoring game himself like Brandon Aubrey does.
He may be a top 10 player in the NFL.
Maybe top 5.
He is so automatic that it's more surprising to watch him miss than anything else. It is actual headlines when he misses a kick.
It is, actually. It's like the top news story of the week when he misses. That's how rare it is.
He is on the level of Justin Tucker in his heyday.
Madden doesn't give out 99 ratings for kickers anymore. This needs to be a guy that is 99 in Madden next year. It is. With how impactful he is, there's no chance in hell he should not be a 99. But now we're going to move back to the Patriots because with the A.J. Brown trade rumors, Kayshon Boutte has come up in recent trade talks. Where do you think is a good fit for Kayshon Boutte if he were to get traded?
My first thought is like a San Francisco or a Chargers, but I really would like to see him possibly fall in line with the Carolina Panthers. I would love to see them get him as a third option. Obviously, we know Xavier Legette is just not it.
Yeah, get Xavier Legette out of there.
McMillan is our number one guy. They have Jalen Coker, but imagine Kayshon Boutte sliding as a number 3 there. It would be really fun for this team.
Jalen Coker can move to the slot. Kayshon Boutte and Jalen Coker and Tet all excel at deep threat and as route runners. This is just a match made in heaven if it would happen.
And they really want to give it maybe a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah. And next, Odell Beckham is expected to sign a 1-year deal with the Giants because he worked out with them today, and he's been meeting with John Harbaugh for the last few weeks now.
All I can imagine here is the clip of, I think it's Steve Buscemi, holding with a backwards hat and the skateboard saying, "What's up, fellow kids?" Odell's gonna do nothing on this team. I give him 250 yards max. Probably plays in 3 or 4 games. He's not going to do anything. This is a team that's not expected to contend at all. So for him going there, it's just he can retire with them this year.
Alrighty. Now we're going to talk about the Giants again because they the Bengals made a big splash in which the Giants traded defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals for the 10th overall pick of the 2026 NFL Draft. This really shakes up the draft big time on Thursday.
Yeah, there's 2 top 10 picks for the Giants now.
Because let's be honest, the Bengals can't really draft defensive players anyways. So if you can get a guy like Dexter Lawrence while giving up a pick that you probably weren't going to draft well anyways, because the Bengals, with the exception of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, don't really know how to use first-round draft picks. Really at all.
It's funny. I watch Mega Casuals, and he made a comment about like the Giants being like, remember when we had two top 10 picks last time, and they took Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah, but this is a
Absolutely.
different coaching staff. This is a different coaching staff.
I hope the Giants get to make good picks here. I think it's pretty clear they're going to get Sonny Styles, most likely with a fifth pick.
I think
I'm
they're
very
gonna go.
curious who falls to the 10.
I'm gonna go. I don't know if you looked at my mock draft, but I went with two very John Harbaugh picks.
I think, yeah, I don't know who falls to the 10, but I think you can easily get some good secondary there, probably.
Alrighty, let me talk. I can actually talk for once. I can talk my trash for once because the Flyers actually lead the Penguins 2-0 and go to Philly for games 3 and 4. Meaning by the next episode of this podcast, you could be saying how the Flyers are the better team. By the next time we record next week, you could say that the Flyers are the better team.
Still a lot of hockey left to play. Still a lot of hockey left.
And this is what Dad and I were talking about earlier. He was saying how he was frustrated that pretty much the last few games of the season that all the key players, the Penguins, rested, and that how they have not been in playoff mode for pretty much they have not played a meaningful game of hockey for essentially well they didn't play a meaningful game for the last week and a half of the season. They didn't. And I think this he said that this is what hurt them. That's what hurt them. And the Flyers have been playing meaningful hockey since game 1 of the year.
Yeah, you can see how they're playing. It's such slow pace. They're not moving with conviction at all. And it's really hard to watch because this is a good team. Like the Penguins are a very good team, but they're just not playing like it at all.
Okay. I just had to talk because I never get to talk trash with the Flyers, but I can actually talk trash about the Flyers. I can actually talk trash for once. For the first time since 2020. Okay, now we're going to move on to baseball because the Mets are having a disaster of a season. Juan Soto is hurt. Their owner has been making pitiful excuses for why their team is bad, and they are a league worst 7-15 through 22 games. They're on an 11-game losing streak, and potentially, I think they ended up losing, so I think they're on a 12-game losing streak now. Yeah, they lost, so they're on a 12-game losing streak now. What is wrong with the Mets?
Honestly, dude, I don't know. This is one of the worst starts we've seen in a long time. It was kind of ironic in the first week of the season. Everyone was talking about how the Mets
they were 7-4. The Mets were to start the year.
Everyone was talking about the Padres kind of being the big disappointment of the year. And now look at the Padres, how they've turned it around. They're one of the best teams in the big league. The Mets just look disgusting. And I think this is really common for the Mets. I mean, we kind of understand the Mets just are a bad baseball team. I understand you hate them. It's kind of fun. I even said in our group chat today, it's kind of fun to watch the Mets.
Yes, it is. Because their fans are more delusional than Yankees fans. At least the Yankees have a high payroll and actually do something with it every year. The Mets have a high payroll and missed the playoffs last year. They have the second highest payroll in baseball, and they're probably going to miss the playoffs for 2 straight years in a row. I love this so much. Mets, just please stop trying. Mets fans in general, please stop talking. You are making yourself look absolutely stupid, and quite frankly, I am here for it.
The Mets are 0-10 in their last 10.
They're 0-12 in their last 12.
The Padres are 9-1 in their last 10. These are two teams that were looking in the complete opposite. People thought, okay, the Mets are finally going to pull it together. They have not won a game. I kid you not. They have not won a game.
They beat the Cubs.
Oh my gosh.
No, they beat the Diamondbacks. They won 4-3 against the Diamondbacks.
Right. They haven't won a game since the 5th of April against, you're right, the 7th of April against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. They won 4-3. That was the last game they won. Mets fans were on top of the world. Their team was 7-4, and now they're 7-16.
I thought it was bad being an Orioles.
Yeah, the Orioles are the second highest payroll in baseball.
The Orioles are only half a game back from the playoffs. A game and a half back from the playoffs.
And now we are going to talk about a team with the highest payroll in baseball because the Dodgers closer Edwin Diaz was diagnosed with loose bodies in his elbow. He is placed on the 15-day IL, and he will undergo surgery and be sidelined for 3 months. So this is 2 straight years in a row now that the Dodgers have made an expensive pitcher signing during the free agency, and they have missed extended time. Do you think that this affects the Dodgers at all?
No, not at all. The Dodgers are still the best.
The Dodgers have pitching injuries every year, and it doesn't really affect them.
They're still 16-6.
I'm pretty sure they're still the best team in the NL.
They're the best record in the league now, not by far, because San Diego is 16-7, and Cincinnati and Atlanta are 16-8. But I mean, come on, this is the Dodgers. They're losing right now to the Giants in the bottom of the 8th, though. It's 3-1, which it's kind of funny because the Giants suck. So we'll see.
Alrighty, and now the final news of the day involves the Phillies, which means we're ending with Philly again, because Philly ends again. Zach Wheeler will be making his season debut on Saturday after missing the end of last season due to blood clots, which caused him to have a rib removed. This is coming at the perfect time for the Phillies, because the Phillies are actually struggling. I know Kyle Schwarber just hit a home run today, and they lost to the Cubs for 7-4. They are 8-15 at the moment. Their pitching staff is first and second in hits, strikeouts, walks, strike percentage, walk percentage. Their pitching staff is 25th in ERA.
Yeah, you're having a really bad season.
Zach Wheeler will be the spark plug that this team needs. Aaron Nola is atrocious. And it's really not just the Phillies pitching staff. When you have Trey Turner not hitting for league average, who is a notoriously outstanding hitter. Kyle Schwarber's batting .217. Bryce Harper's actually turned it around. Dallas Garcia is terrible. He's been a horrible signing for them. I'm so glad that they are not playing Otto Kemp anymore. Orion Kerkering is still bad. Jesus Luzardo has been so bad. Taijuan Walker has been so bad. Jesus Luzardo is a 7.94 ERA. Taijuan Walker, I'm pretty sure, has an 11 ERA. The only two pitchers that have showed up are Andrew Painter and Christopher Sanchez. Zach Wheeler will be a breath of fresh air for this team. Aaron Nola has a 5.06 ERA and he's 1-2.
It's been a really, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a really bad year for the Phillies. I live near Philly, obviously, for everyone watching this. I have a lot of coworkers who are Phillies fans, and it's just been, you can see the life drained out of them. When Orioles fans are happier than Phillies fans,
There's a problem.
There's a serious problem there. I mean, it's interesting to see how your team is so packed full of talent. Like you said it yourself, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper,
Alec Bohm, Brandon Moore.
So many talented players. It's just impossible to understand how they can't win. Dude, you lost to the Cubs, who are a good team, but 7-4 to the Cubs.
And Justin Crawford has been a bright spot for the Phillies. He is their rookie. He was one of the top prospects in baseball. And when you have Justin Crawford, he's Justin Crawford's son. So when you, he is just Carl Crawford. He is Carl Crawford's son. And when you have and I love Carl Crawford, but when you have a rookie hitting really well, when you have a rookie pitcher pitching really well, when you have Christopher Sanchez, and when you have Bryce Harper heating up, you would think that this team would be good. But nah, they're getting blown out because the rest of their pitching staff, outside of Andrew Painter and Christopher Sanchez, literally give up hits like it is free candy. Like that's like I don't get it. I don't. And Ranger Suarez left to the Phillies, and I thought that was going to be so bad, but he has been so bad in Boston, so maybe that wasn't a bad move. But the Phillies need to do something. They need to do something to improve this pitching staff. Nola has needed to go for a long time because he cannot pitch in Philadelphia. And now apparently he can't pitch on the road either. So when you have a pitcher who can no longer pitch at home or on the road, you need to think, what do we need to do? And Rob Thompson is a terrible manager. He is. He needs to go.
It's do or die time.
It really
for the Phillies. And I don't think there is any part of them that has the ability to just mess around. I think this has to be we're going to make a change. We're going to make a change right away.
Yeah. And they are 26th in batting average, 26th in on-base percentage, 27th in runs, 24th in slugging percentage, 28th now in ERA. Batting average against, they are 30th. Walks plus hitters per inning pitched, they are 24th. The only thing that they are not bottom 10 in is home runs, and they're 17th in that right now. They are not top half in anything at all. Nothing. And this is a team with the third highest payroll in baseball.
Yeah, it's a really... I keep saying it, but man, this is a bad team.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the podcast. Because
you went from a really, really high with your Philly team to a really low.
That's usually how it is. I can never have happiness out of both Philly teams. It's not possible. But anyways, that's going to do it for the podcast. Just so you know, we are now on Buzzer, which is a new sports content creation site that we are going to start posting on. We're going to post the shorts on there. We're going to post posts on there, give our thoughts on sports stuff. But go follow us on, it's BZZR, Bros Podcast. That's what we are in there. And also use code 2brospodcast at w.gg for 10% off your first purchase. And as always, we will see you guys next time. Peace.